How's everybody doing? Yeah, it's like, what time is it, 5 o'clock? Yeah, and you've just been listening to David Wilson, who was brilliant, but he had a lot of information, didn't he? It's all good, but there's a lot of it. I am going to say exactly the same thing that David said, but with slightly fewer words and fewer numbers. First thing I want to do, though, is I want to just introduce myself. Why am I worth listening to? Well, you decide if I'm worth listening to, but there are two reasons why you might listen. One is, I've been around for a long time. As Nadia said, I've started doing this job of being in this field in the mid-1980s. I started programming computers in 1981. I started teaching training in 1987. And this means that I've seen a lot of stuff. I've got the perspective. Mind you, David's in the same sort of boat, right? We've known each other for a long time. The other reason is I've got nothing to sell you. So I don't mind if you disagree with me, that's fine. But what I'm saying to you is sincere. I believe what I'm saying. I believe it based on 35 years in the industry. And the key thing I'm going to say is I'm going to pick up where David left off. We have a choice, and our choice is we can thrive or we can fade away. And I don't say this because it's necessary to have an exciting title to a talk. I've chaired the Learning Technologies Conference for 25 years. For 25 years, I've seen people come on stage and say everything will change. And the next year, what happens? Well, somebody else comes up and says, no, this will change. I've never believed it, really. I've never believed it, but I do believe it now. And I have, as I say, there's no reason for me to say this. I have no ulterior motive, except I believe and I love this field. I want to get everybody here ready for an exciting future, but a very challenging future. So it's the same message as David. We've got to really take control and make some choices. You've made a good choice by already being here to think about it. Most people are just too busy doing the day job to look up and think, where am I going? Right, this is the choice. Where are we heading? I think we're going to head towards fading away if we keep doing what we've always done. And fading away means that we become not extinct, it just means we become irrelevant. We become the people who are left in the corner, in the basement, in the learning and development department somewhere, doing the mandatory training. I thought that was so interesting, that stat, that for 12 years, compliance training and mandatory training was learning and development's #1 calling. That's all we're going to be seen as good for unless we change. And if we change, we have great opportunity. There is so much that we can do with AI, but it means a very different view of learning and development to what it meant when I started. When I started training in the 1980s, it was so easy because I was teaching English. So I was a subject matter expert already, and you write material, you deliver material, and if people want to know more, in 1987 there is no World Wide Web. They have to come to you for the information. How you control the information. And we still think like that in L&D, and it's not like that anymore, and it's just getting further and further away. Right, quick question then for everybody here. Because you've been sitting and listening probably all day to people, I'm going to ask you a question. Turn to your neighbour very quickly. I want to answer this question. Then I'm going to tell you what 3,000 other people in the world are saying about their challenge. So very quickly, turn to the person next to you. What's your biggest challenge? You've got 30 seconds to answer the question. Go ahead. Nadia, do we have a mic?
Of course.
Brilliant. Okay, let's go. Okay. Okay, do we have any answers about biggest challenges? Anybody want to share what their big challenge is? Yeah, and everyone's talking right at the back. Okay, can we run the mic up to the back, please? There we go. Thank you. It's always exciting when the first person is right at the back of the room.
Evaluating the impact of the training we produce.
I didn't hear it, sorry. Could you say it again?
It's my French accent, I guess. Evaluating the impact of the training we do.
Thank you for saying it in English and also very clearly. You have a lovely accent, please. So, yes, evaluating impact. Yes, that's a big thing right now. And over here. Say again, sorry? Learning engagement. All right, anything else?
Identify the relevant competencies.
Identifying the relevant competencies. Yeah, so that we need today. In the company? In the world, in the company. Okay, fine. Thank you. Yes, please. Keeping up with changes. Yeah. Yeah, and then you come here and you think you're keeping up with stuff and you go back to the office and you've got an inbox full of email that has to be dealt with. It's no fun. Let's have one more over here. Very quickly, over here, là-bas. Thank you. I love the tension as it mounts as the microphone nears the person. Yes?
It will be skills assessment.
Say again?
Skills assessment.
Skills assessment.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the same business about knowing what skills we want, evaluating the impact, and having an understanding of how this works. So do we have the right skills that we're trying to affect? Can we check that we're actually having an impact on them for the business? I can see there were lots of other hands going up, which is great. I'm very interested that these challenges are quite focused, and it shows that you're really working on the industry, you're really working on your jobs, which is great. I do my global sentiment survey each year. It's going to come out on February the 11th. Let me tell you what I categorize. I have something like a small book of answers to this. It's something like 27,000 words of people responding to this question from 3,000 people in something like 100 countries. And the three biggest or three most interesting categories of people come out with answers are technology, external factors, and resources. So this is not really what we're talking about in the room. I think you're more focused actually on getting the job done, which is great. A lot of people very worried about resources. This has been, as a category in the last 4 years, it's the only category where people have got more and more concerned each year. And that matches what I'm seeing in the marketplace. People don't feel they've got the money to do the job. And they feel they're being asked to do, I think you use this phrase, doing more with less. That's a very common phrase. External factors are less and less important. Even though we get bombarded on the news with war, elections, and so on, actually people are less concerned by that year on year. Okay, what do you think has happened with technology? Are people more or less concerned about it? I think they're a bit more concerned, right. So it was fine until last year, and suddenly, bang, everyone's worried about technology. I'm sharing this with you just to let you know that if you are concerned about technology, you're not alone. Most of the world, I think, is. I think technology, AI in particular, is an indication of what we can do in the future. It's not the only thing. AI is something we do as a result of having lots of data, cheap computing power, massive memory storage, and international flows of data. Put all that together with algorithms developed over decades, and you have AI. But AI is a lot more than generative AI. But I'm going to look at how we're using AI in a minute. But I think the technology side of this is accurate. I think people are right to be worried about it. And I think in particular they're right to be worried about AI. So last year, with my co-author Egla Vinalskaita, I wrote 3 reports looking at what's happening with AI in learning and development. And by all means take a photograph. There's also a LinkedIn QR code at the end, so you can link in with me and I can send you the link. I just want to look at 2 slides from this last report here. And we asked people, all right, we've got this technology. What do you expect to do with it? What do you expect that you'll be able to do with it? And if we ask them what they expect to do with AI, this is the chart of answers. And exactly as David was saying, the thing people expect to do more with this is create more learning content faster. Interestingly, if you look down at the fifth one, it's improve the quality of my learning design. Now this worries me slightly. It looks like people are saying, I just want to make more stuff. Actually, talking to people, I kind of get the feeling that is what they want to do. And if you ask people, all right, you have 10 hours in the day or 10 hours in the week when you're making content. Suppose with AI, you can now make all that content in 9 hours, in 1 hour, and you have 9 free hours. What do you do with the 9 free hours? And the strange thing is, if you ask this question to people, there's this blank look, because their automatic assumption is, of course, I'm going to make more content. I think that's very dangerous. I think there is going to be what I call a beige wave. There's going to be a huge tsunami of content, some of it produced by learning and development people, some of it produced by other people, a lot of it produced by AI itself. And it's not going to be very good. Now, maybe we can create some great content, but it's going to be really difficult for most people to know the difference. If learning and development associates its value with content, we're going to lose. Because people are going to think, oh yeah, you're the people who do that course, resource thing. Nobody thinks further than that on the rest of the organization. And we run the risk of being seen as being on the fading away side, just another bunch of people producing stuff. All right, so what else can we do with AI? I want to look at something that Egla and I produced this year to explore the ways in which people are using AI and try to understand how you can move to a sophisticated use of it. So in those 3 reports, we have something like 14 case studies. They grow from 25 to 35 to 40 pages. There's a lot of information there. I'm boiling it down. I'm boiling it down to you to 3 boxes and 6 words, okay? That's human AI working for you, condensing everything. We found that really when people are using AI for learning and development, they're using the 3 things. Internal efficiency, and this is echoing what David was saying. Internal efficiency, point solutions, and business integration. Now, internal efficiency, that's doing my email better, producing more content. Business integration, that's when you've got AI used with learning and development across the organization, identifying skills and using it as a common language to support HR and learning. That's very rare. And there are some organizations doing it. Unilever are trying to do it. Ericsson are trying to do it. It's a tough call. In the middle, you have point solutions, where you're using AI very effectively for one thing. So, for example, I've seen great examples of AI for learning and development, coaching sales staff or customer representatives. And they are able to sit and talk to the computer as if it's a real person and deal with a customer complaint, get feedback as they're doing it, and improve themselves. And then they can have the same coach while they're talking to somebody. That's just one example. When you put 3 boxes like this, there's a natural reaction for people. Oh yeah, okay, so this looks like it belongs on a maturity model. So I start there and I'm going to make my way up. Here's the bad news. Don't take a photograph of this one. Here's the bad news. We can find no evidence that there is a natural progression. If you start using AI to create content, you don't automatically end up using it to understand skills across your organization. So, how do we progress? We take these boxes and we put them on what Egla Vinauskaite calls the complexity scale, which goes from a simple use to a sophisticated use. And they fit on here, okay. Yeah, so internal efficiency is simple. L&D uses it autonomously. Business integration is complex. On that right-hand side of the slide there, I want you to look at one word there, relationships, because I'm going to come back to that. To be able to use AI in L&D effectively in a sophisticated way, you need data, you need skills, and above all, you need relationships. Just to recap, there are no arrows going from left to right here. Okay? There's no natural progression. All right, Don, fine, there are no arrows. How do I get to be more sophisticated? We spend a long time looking at the case studies, looking at people using AI in L&D, and we discovered that there were some key enablers. You didn't go from left to right. The way you ran L&D, the way your business operated, those were the key enablers, and those determine where you use AI in L&D. And these are the key enablers. Please take a photograph of this one, or at least burn it onto your memory. That's terrible. I shouldn't be telling you what to do. You're grown adults. You can decide what you're going to take a photograph of. Of course, you need to have basic AI readiness. Of course you do. Of course, you need to know how or what you can expect from a large language model. You need to know whether you can trust a model if you're sharing data with it and so on. All that needs to be there, but you need to have readiness in L&D and readiness in the business as well. And readiness is not just about skills, and it's not just about technology, particularly on the L&D side and the business side. Sorry, I'm putting Egla's name there because I just want to let you know that she was the one who produced this idea. This is all about being basically ready over here. If you want AI to be used across the business for L&D, then you need to have an organizational change imperative. Using AI for everything in L&D across the business, you've got to get a lot of people involved. That means it has to be driven from the top. Without this, nothing will succeed. If you've got that, fantastic. And there are organizations where that's happening. Again, Unilever, Ericsson, they're driving this from the top, and they have to drive it because it's a multi-year change program. Somebody's got to keep things going when things slow down. You also need what I call an open learning and development department. In that word open, I'm trying to convey the idea that this is a different sort of department. It's open to new ideas. It's open to change. It's open to experimentation. And it's open to conversations with the rest of the business. Remember I said focus on that word relationships. An open L&D department is led by somebody who is capable of going out and talking to the business and building relationships. I'll tell you why that's so important. Apart from anything else, if you're doing this, you're relying on data. The data that you need is not learning data, it's business data about how people perform, and that belongs to somebody else. Never mind everything else, you need a relationship to get your hands on that data. Now, this is not something you can control. You can be an open learning and development department. It's very difficult. You have no control over this. This is the environment you're in. But you can produce a point solution somewhere. If you've got an open learning and development department, you're ready for change, you're ready to do things in a different way, that leader of your department has to go out and find themselves a performance-focused business champion in the business, somebody who gets it. Now, when I started training, and all of my years delivering training in the 1990s, I worked with a lot of training departments. They were always isolated from the rest of the business. They didn't see their job as being going out and building relationships. But those relationships where a leader from here goes out and talks to the business and finds the problems they've got and understands them, and they come together to build a solution, that's where you're going to succeed. And you succeed in one area, you go on to succeed elsewhere. I say succeed in one area because one success is all you need. If you do a great job for sales, everyone else is going to know about it. You do a great job for operations, for delivery, everyone else is going to know about it because that business champion that you're working with is going to go and tell them. And I've seen this happen time and again. In the world of tech startups, it's often said that you don't need 20 case studies. You just need one absolutely fervent case study, somebody who really believes in you and will go out and talk about you. And that's what we've got here. Really, an open L&D department is an entrepreneurial L&D department, and that means, I think, that the leadership and the attitude of the department has to change. So I think it's in our hands. I think it's in our hands to decide where we go next. If we keep doing what we've always done, if we keep thinking our job is to produce content, and this is how David ended up his session, I am pretty confident that half of what L&D does will not be there. Because there is so much power in just the tools that people can use themselves. But if we decide to go out, build relationships, understand the basic AI readiness that we need to have, and be open to building relationships with the rest of the business, then I think we can absolutely thrive and produce something that enables us to do something that's actually really interesting and adds value, enables us to show our value to the business, make sure we know what skills we're dealing with. The skills evaluation just gets folded in to everything else we're doing. That's what we should do if we're thriving with learning and development. Right, thank you very much. That's me on LinkedIn. If you were trying to take photographs, but I was too fast, link in with me and just say, Donald, send me the slides, and I'll send you the slides. We've got 1 minute and 40 seconds for any questions. It's not much time. We've got time for one question. I know it's the end of the day. You probably just want to sit down and relax. Pregunta. That's Spanish, isn't it? Y a-t-il une question? Ah.
Well, first, thank you so much. It's like very inspirational. I would say maybe for the people that are here also that you said at the beginning they were very hands-on. What do you think would be the smallest step that people can do tomorrow to go towards that inspiring?
Isn't that a great question, right? Because it's all very well standing on stage waving your arms around, but you've got to get back to work tomorrow and do something. Yeah, right. As well as dealing with the emails you've backed up. I'm going to tell you what Heather Stefanski said to me. She's the Chief Learning Officer of McKinsey, Chief Learning Officer of McKinsey. We had a conversation last year. And I said, you're doing an incredible amount of stuff. How do you know if you're succeeding? And she said, Donald, I look at my diary. Okay. I look at my diary, and if half of my time is spent outside the learning and development department, having conversations with people, I know I'm succeeding. Now, she's Chief Learning Officer. She's got a big department under her. She's got a PA and everything. Maybe not 50%, right? Okay, if your job is not heading up the department, but it's got to be a percentage. Go and have a cup of tea with marketing. Go and sit down with sales. Go and visit an engineer on a visit. See what's going on and understand the business. In L&D, we are very good at sitting by ourselves, and then when we want something, it's too late. Never make the first contact with somebody a request. Always make it an offer. Do you want to have a cup of tea? Do you want to have a coffee? Whatever. Build the relationship, and then, after that, you're on the way. So thank you. It's a great question. Go and have a cup of tea with somebody is my answer. Right, we're over time. Time for our panel. Is that right?